What's up? Do we have any introductions yet?
No introduction yet, but we do have a new member on the pod today, Austin.
Boop, boop.
All right.
We do.
So why don't you introduce yourself, Dakota?
What's up, Dakota? Yeah, I'm
So
unfortunately friends with these scrubs, so
Another guy with no credentials.
that's the thing,
absolutely.
though,
Hey, I got a
Austin.
sport management degree. I'm
That's
partially
right.
there.
That's right.
I'm
He
partially
has he
there.
has more credentials than we have,
Dang,
just
that's true.
slightly more.
All right.
Slightly
Well,
more
I got.
credentials.
Well, I follow ESPN and Sports Center, so it's about the same.
Pretty much
And he doesn't
about
watch the
useless.
games. So, all right. Anyways, we're talking about NBA right now. So both two games down in each the Western Conference Finals and the Eastern Conference Finals, and we're going to start with the Bucks and Raptors, Austin. So why don't you start us off? What do you think about the game?
The last game, game two, bro. I
Yeah,
think
game
there.
two.
Okay, with game two, I think there's gonna be no game five, game six. It's just gonna be done in four. The way that is.
Wait,
And dude,
wait.
like I seen Kawhi stats, and dude, it's the same thing you and me talking about every week. Kawhi's good. It's not the problem. It's the rest of the team.
Yeah, but I do recall someone predicting the Raptors are going to win on this podcast last time. Who was
Dude,
that?
you know what?
In six
That was
games?
that was me. But I mean, they need a miracle, and by miracle, I mean they need to have Kawhi dropping 50 points because the rest of the team ain't gonna do nothing.
Well, yeah, you might be. Well, actually, in game one, Kyle Lowry went off in the fourth quarter. He actually had
Uh,
well, first time in his entire life. But
Yeah,
See,
but
that's
then he shot.
the thing,
Then
though.
he shot
First time in his entire life.
4-13. Yeah, then he shot
Yeah.
4-13, and yeah.
well, the big problem was Pascal Siakam, dude. He scored like 6 points last night. It's like Chuck says, Austin. He got that triple single.
Yeah,
The
that was
triple single. You can't be getting a triple single. So, all right, yeah. I think it just. I mean, I predicted the Bucks would win, um, because I think they're just not just because Giannis is better than Kawhi, but it also has more to do with they're way deeper. The Bucks are way deeper on their bench. They have more shooters coming off the bench. But I will say this: I am worried about the Bucks for the simple fact that if you look at the Rockets, I mean, the Rockets can be any team on any night, but it's when they're hitting shots. And the Bucks are like the Rockets in that they're so dependent on the 3 point shot. Even though Giannis goes down low, if they're not hitting those shots, I mean, who knows? They might not be able to, even compete with the Warriors. So if they go cold one night, then they're gonna get. I mean, they're gonna get swallowed up. I mean, all they do is shoot threes, except for Giannis in the paint. So I am a little bit worried about that. But yeah, I think you're right, Austin. I think this one's gonna be done in 5 or 6, probably.
dude. One thing I want to point out is Giannis, dude. He had 17 rebounds. Like that's insane. Raptors need to shut that out and not let him
Yeah.
get that many rebounds. That's ridiculous.
Well, they don't have anybody to shut it out, unfortunately. I don't think Mark Gasol is getting the job done. What do you think
I
about the
think
game, Dakota?
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, that trade now is looking pretty questionable too for the Raptors. I think they're better off with Jonas. I think he would have made a bigger impact in this than, for
Well, he's a better
instance.
rebounder.
Yeah, for
That's for
sure.
sure.
I mean, Gasol had 5 rebounds. He shot 1 of 9 last night.
Oh,
That's just not what
goodness.
you need from your center. Like, it's just not.
No, no. And that's why I don't like today's NBA, man. Like, I mean, I get it. Like, it's versatile. It's good to have a 3 point shooting center, but centers need to be in the paint and working in the paint, not shooting threes, man.
No.
It needs to change. What were you gonna say, Austin?
I was just gonna go to game three, which is tonight, and see who y'all got.
Oh, who we got? Well, let's do our predictions after a couple of questions we have. Then we'll do
All
our
right, all right,
predictions.
man.
All right, all right, all right. So I have a question for you guys. So the Bucks are obviously looking really good. So what do you think their chances are to upset the Warriors in the finals?
You know
3%.
what?
Firm 3.
I
What do you think, Austin?
I don't know. I mean, honestly though, out of everybody, I think they have the chance. They're a young team compared to the Warriors. The Warriors been there so many times. Hopefully it won't be like Warriors in game four. Hopefully it'll be taking a game six or seven. But I mean, I'd like the Bucks to win. But I mean, the thing that I think is holding them back is just a little bit of experience. They are 10-1 in the playoffs right now, but I mean, it's the Warriors. They've been there. I think that's really the only thing that gets them.
The thing that I think the Bucks have going for them is that they do have a better record, so they will start off at home. That'll be something that'll help. So if they could start off by at least winning one of those, that would be a great start.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. The Warriors, like the Giannis is still young. I mean, experience in the playoffs is literally this year.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean, he's probably going to be the MVP, but like the Warriors' experience at this point in the playoffs is just unmatched, and like they just got too much star talent. So I don't know. I mean, I hope it's a good series, but like, I mean, if the Bucks could take it to 6, that would be a win for them in my book.
Yeah, I think you're right. I agree with you guys. I think there's little to zero chance that they have any potential of upsetting them. I'm with you guys though. Like, obviously, we will all want more parity in the NBA, and we want to see somebody else besides the Warriors win the championship. But really, what I want is a good series, because the last couple of years it's been blowouts against the Cavs. So I just want a good series. But I mean, come on, give me a break. They have two MVPs on their team when healthy, and the 2 best shooters of all time. So the Bucks have zero chance. But we'll go into the scenarios a little bit later. All right, so if the Bucks win this series, because Austin, we've been talking about Dakota on our pod the last couple of weeks. It's really come down to 3 players for us to be crowned the best player in the world: Kevin Durant, Kawhi Leonard, and Giannis. Like, it comes down to those 3 guys. And like we've been saying, it's not that crown isn't crowned during the regular season. That you have to prove it in the playoffs. And all 3 of those guys have proved that they're right there in the playoffs. So I have a question for you guys. If the Bucks win this series against the Raptors, and it looks like they're going to do it decisively, do you think Giannis will take the crown of the best player in the world?
I'd probably say so. I mean, but he's still young. I mean, he could probably be just, this one time, and then next year it'll be different. He is a very good player, but, I'd probably say yeah, but it's a soft yeah.
It's a soft yeah.
Soft
yeah.
I don't know. I guess I'll say no, just because of the fact I think with the NBA more so than like any other league, people care so much about winning championships. And as long as Kevin Durant's with the Warriors winning them, especially if they win it, like, because we agreed just then that the Warriors are still going to win the finals. So that means KD's going to have 3 rings. And as long as he has those, I don't know. I mean, purely talent-wise, I think you could make the argument for Giannis. But, like, I don't know. As long as KD keeps winning championships.
So, to your point, Dakota, if KD's out and they win the championship still, what do you say then? Because, I mean, we'll get into that a little bit more later, but in that scenario, I mean, it's hard to argue that, maybe Giannis maybe is.
I think that'd be an easy way to let it happen. Like, if they goes, especially if they have a competitive series, too, because I don't think anybody truly expects the Warriors to lose. But, I mean, if the Bucks go out there and Giannis takes a game or 2, like, unexpectedly, then I think that would make it pretty definitive, especially if KD's not playing.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think I agree with you. Right now, I would say Kevin Durant still, just because Kevin Durant was averaging, me and Austin were talking about this, man, averaging 34 points a game in the playoffs, shooting 50% from the field, 42% from 3. I mean, those are unbelievable numbers. And it's no question Kevin Durant right now. Because, I mean, obviously Giannis is a slightly better defensive player than Kevin Durant, but Kevin Durant still plays defense. I mean, he's a great defender. So, I mean, I would give the edge to Kevin Durant right now, but I do think, you guys didn't touch on this, I do think he has put himself ahead of Kawhi Leonard. Although Kawhi doesn't have as good as a team, I think Giannis has proven that he's just an unstoppable force on offense, and on top of that, one of the best defenders in the league. So that's good. I agree. I pretty much agree with you guys, though. It's Kevin Durant right now. So speaking on Kawhi, do you guys think there's any chance Kawhi stays in Toronto after an Eastern Conference exit? No. What's your prediction, Austin? Besides no.
He's not gonna stay there. I mean, yeah, he's putting up 30+ points, 35+ points a game in the playoffs, but I mean, that's it. Like, you just can't win. Well, I mean, you can win, 1 or 2 series based on one guy, apparently. But I mean, you just can't get further than that, and that's the thing. I mean, if he wants rings, he needs to go somewhere else.
Sure.
They could offer him, good money, but other people can, offer him good money and no rings, or some people can offer him decent money with rings.
Why would you want to live in Canada anyways?
Dude, that's the truth, bro. He's probably living in a motel because he's already know he's not staying.
You're right, man. All right, Dakota, what's your take?
If they lose, I mean, it depends on if they go and get him some big name, like the rumors if Clay leaves the Warriors and stuff. But I think an aspect of it, I think the fact that he's been in the East now, I think that he's going to stay in the East because he's shown that he can. I think that it's because of the fact that he proves that he can easily get to the finals. Like he didn't in San Antonio because of the Warriors, but now that he's in the East, he can easily get to at least the Eastern Conference Finals. But it depends too on like what happens with the Warriors. I think like if KD leaves, I think he stays in the East. But if they just completely fall apart, like the rumors about Clay possibly leaving too, I think you could see him go back to the West just because he could compete better there. But in terms of him staying in Toronto, I agree. I don't think he is, unless they just do something crazy in free agents and make him stay. Then I don't see it happening.
I don't see it happening either. I think he'll end up with the Clippers. I mean, that's what all the reports are saying. Because I don't know if Kawhi cares that much about winning. I really don't. Who knows what Kawhi cares about? Like, nobody can tell. You see him in the press conferences. I mean, also, you just tagged me in one of the press conferences. I mean, he doesn't look like he cares about anything. So, I don't know what he wants. But I'll say this. I mean, there's no reason to stay up in Canada. The Raptors have not shown the ability to build around superstars when they have them. And that's why they leave. I mean, they have a history of that with Vince Carter, Tracy McGrady. DeMar DeRozan's not a superstar, but Kawhi Leonard now. I mean, they can't build around a superstar, so I don't see him. There's any chance of him because if he wants to win, don't go to Toronto. If he wants a nice lifestyle, don't go to Toronto. Like, there's no reason to be in Toronto. So I would leave if I was him, and I think he will. I think that's pretty obvious. All right, next up, Warriors and Trailblazers recap. What do you guys think about the game? The games.
Well, I mean, it's a game I don't want to watch. I mean, we already know what's going to happen. 2 games left in the series and then done, and then they get that huge break. I mean, it gives KD some time to rest,
how disrespectful.
It's just ridiculous, man. I swear.
I mean, I can't add much more than that. It's true. It's just it's an entertaining at this point. Like
it really is.
I mean, game 2 was a little close, but like. You just knew they were never going to lose. It's one of those things where it's like you just watching it. You're like, there is nothing that could happen in this game where they will lose, especially if they're at home. If they're at the Oracle, like it's just no chance in hell.
Dude, Game 2, the Trailblazers were up by what, like at least 10, and then
they were up by 17 at some point, man.
But you're still just like, it's not happening.
I think in like the second or third quarter. The Warriors end up going on like an 11-0 run. Like, you can't let that happen. I don't know how they let that happen. I don't know if they were playing with 3 guys on the court or what, but that's ridiculous.
Well,
I'll
speak on that. I think the new NBA, you see a lot of these big runs because people try to get back into the game with threes. And they'll brick like 10 threes in a row when sometimes you just need to go get a bucket. Like, that Kevin Durant's that kind of player. He just gets a bucket when you need it. Like, teams need that kind of guy that will just go get 2 points, whatever it is, get to the foul line. Because you'll see these teams like the Trailblazers. I saw it. They were up by 17 and they kept jacking up threes. It's like, why don't you just go to the basket, get high percentage shots while you're up by so much instead of keep jacking up these threes and save your lead. So, I think you guys are right. It's honestly depressing. Like, whenever it's the day for the Eastern Conference Finals game, I'm like so excited all day. Like, I'm waiting for it. I'm like, oh, I'm ready to watch this. And then when it gets to Western Conference Day, I'm just like, okay, all right, it's not fun. I'm anxious all day. I don't even want to watch the game. I don't even want to look at the final score because, I mean, the Blazers could be up by 20 and they're going to blow the lead. So, it's pretty disappointing. But this is an interesting question because the Warriors have played fantastically since Kevin Durant's been out. Steph Curry has looked incredible. He's been back to MVP form. So do you guys think the Warriors are better without Kevin Durant?
Dakota, you can go on this one first. I want to hear what you got to say.
Oh man, I don't think
Oh,
that they're
Austin.
better. I don't think that they're better, but I say that you can make the argument that like having more star power like that makes it harder for the offense to just function. When you have guys that just can take over the game by themselves, when you have at least three in Steph, Clay, and KD, that it does make it harder to like work as a team sometimes, which I think is why their record was so bad this year. But like I
Yeah,
don't think that they're better without him. Not by any means. I mean, whenever they have KD, they feel unbeatable. Like before they even got Boogie, like the Warriors with KD are up there as unbeatable.
yeah,
And I mean,
exactly.
as long as they're still playing, I mean, they went 73-9 without him. They did that. They still lost the finals, but they
Yeah,
did do that. But I mean, KD makes it where in the finals at any point they can't be beaten. So I don't think that they're better without him.
Austin, you want to get on it?
I I agree. I see that. I wouldn't say they're better. I'd say they're a different team when KD's there. I think without KD they can go to the finals. With KD they can go to the finals too. But even if something happens to KD or like earlier when Steph was hurt, I mean they had it covered. So Steph was hurt. That's okay. We'll rest him. No biggie. We'll go and shut out a series. And then same thing with KD. I mean he's hurt. It's like, oh dang, well we'd like to have him, but Steph Curry all of a sudden gets his powers or something like that and starts going off. So I don't
Yeah,
think better. I just think it's just a different team.
I agree. I pretty much agree with both of you. I would say the offense just runs smoother without Kevin Durant. They play less ISO. The ball moves better. But I mean, I think over time, and I actually heard an analysis like this. Over time, they can win games, but they won't be better without Kevin Durant because Kevin Durant's better suited for playoff basketball. Like in a game 7, for example. I mean, when it's physical, like everything's on the line. Kevin Durant will make them better. No question about
Yeah.
that. And they need Kevin Durant in situations like that because everything's on the line. Like, for example, in 2016, when they lost the championship to the Cavs, if they had Kevin Durant in game 7, give me a break. Give me a break. They're winning the game. It's not even a question about it. So I think it's ridiculous to say someone like Kevin Durant doesn't make your team better. But like you said, Austin, they're just a different team without Kevin Durant. The ball moves smoother. They cut easier. So I think all this nonsense about them being better without Kevin Durant, I don't care about the record without Kevin Durant either. There's a lot of context that people don't talk about behind that record without Kevin Durant. So even though I think they're still capable of winning this year's finals without him, they're not necessarily better without him. And with that being said, there's a lot of scenarios that I want to go over with you guys, and will Kevin Durant leave in these scenarios? So the first scenario, obviously, is the Warriors win and Durant's out. What do you guys think? Kevin Durant will leave in that scenario, or will he stay in that scenario?
No, he's staying.
Staying if Warriors win and Durant's out. Okay, what do you think, Dakota?
That's probably the touchiest one because I feel like
Yeah,
he'd have 3. I think what he wants is 3 because the guy he
yeah,
gets compared to constantly has 3. But
hmm
if he's not in for it, I feel like he wouldn't think he actually won it. Like he would
yeah,
just not
exactly.
want to be carried to winning it, and that was what would happen. I think he would stay. He'd be there for at least 1 more.
Really,
I think
I
so.
actually think
If he's hurt though, like if he's hurt, that might change it. If he continues to be hurt and he gets that ring, then he might leave. Like I could see that happening, but
Yeah.
hopefully he's better though. I don't see him hurt the entire time.
Well, here's the thing. If the Warriors win and Durant is injured, I think he's leaving. I think that's the most likely scenario he will leave because of the fact that he won't feel like the Warriors need him. It'll prove that the Warriors didn't need him the entire time. So I think he'll be like, listen, I've got to go somewhere and make my own legacy. I got to go somewhere like the Knicks and win the East and go beat the Warriors myself, which would be really interesting because that would be a really cool matchup. So yeah, I think that's actually the most likely scenario that he leaves. If the Warriors win and they prove that they didn't really need Durant to win a championship, which is what we all know to begin with. I mean, they won a championship without him. So I actually think he'll leave in that scenario. So what about this scenario? Warriors lose and Durant's out. I think that's an easy one for me. What do y'all think? So the Warriors lose, but Durant was out in the series.
Yeah, I'd say he goes, but I mean, I think in all these scenarios, I could totally see both him and Clay. You know what? Let's forget the media. You know whatever they say. Let's ride it out to a fourth one or a fifth one, and take like a ridiculous like low number amount deal on 1 or 2 years, maybe three. But I think in that specific one, um, I think he's out for sure. Then.
Yeah.
I think that's the one that I guess you could play it off of the way your perspective was on the other one, where I guess then I put myself in his mindset of like the reason he went there is that he thinks that they need him. But
Yeah, exactly.
if they lose without him, then I think it would be the opposite of that, where he's like, this team does need me. So I think that would make him want to stay to prove that. I mean, you could still make the argument though that like if they lose without him, then it shows that he could think that they do need him, and then that would be another reason for him to leave. Like if this team needs me, then I can go somewhere else and beat him. Like that just
And
got
beat
proved.
them. Yeah.
If the Bucks could do it, if that's what we're assuming in the finals, if it's the Bucks and they beat them, then you could see the argument that he can make of the fact that they don't need him. So that means I can go somewhere and I can beat this team. But I think it's a more likely scenario he stays for that.
Yeah, I think that's the most likely scenario he stays if he's out, because he'll feel like he is needed in that instance. He'll be like, okay, I'm out. This team does need me. I was what this made this engine run, and he'll feel. And honestly, guys, and people have talked about this, and I kind of agree. As a human being, right, Austin, think about our podcast. All right, as a human being, if Kevin Durant is out in the series, right, he's in my mind, he might be cheering for them to lose. Think about this, Austin. Okay, so think about we're doing the podcast. We're getting decent numbers, and then you get off the podcast. Somebody replaces you, and then the numbers spike. We go through the roof. How are you going to feel about that? That's going to suck. So I think, in my mind, I think Kevin Durant is actually cheering for the Warriors to lose a little bit, because he's like, in his head, he's like, man, if they win without me, these 2 rings that I have, they're meaningless.
But he's still part of the team, though. That's what you don't think about. He's still part of the team.
But he's not thinking about that.
If I was in a coma for 3 days and y'all replace me and y'all getting views, then yeah, that's great. But I think since I'm still part of the team, once I come out of the coma, I can let you guys know that I beat up Stephen A. Smith, and I just accidentally tripped, and that's why I was in the coma. But I'm still part of the team. That's what KD is. He's still part of the team, so I don't think he's going to be rooting against him. I think he's trying to not worry about his free agency coming up. I think he just wants to go get that championship and then worry about that later when it comes up. And then he'll start doing it. I think he's not even just going to focus on that right now. Same as Kawhi, and just try to play these games and get through that injury and go from there, and then see what he wants to do. Partially, I think some of it might be seeing what Clay's going to do, because if Clay leaves and Kevin Durant leaves, they might go to the playoffs next year, but the playoffs is it if both of them leave. So I think that's another option for him, or something that he's thinking about, is seeing what Clay does, and I think that'll affect a little bit of his decision too.
I agree with that. All right, yeah. So I think another scenario where he actually leaves is if they win and he's in. I think he's out. I think the only way he will stay if they lose and he's out, because he'll feel like they need him to win a championship. But if they win and he's in, I think he'll feel like, listen, I've got to go build my legacy somewhere else. I have these 3 championships. I've tied LeBron, like you mentioned, Dakota, and he's going to go try to build his legacy with. In my opinion, I think he's going to the Knicks. If I had to predict right now, it would be the Knicks.
Do you think if he goes, are you assuming that they pick up somebody else too? Like, is Kyrie Knicks bound?
Yeah, well, I think they'll probably team up together. If it's not Kyrie, it'll be somebody else, like Kemba Walker. Yeah, Kemba Walker. Or they're talking about AD getting traded to the Knicks, and that would be crazy. That would be crazy.
Yeah,
but.
Yeah. Was that the logic about like RJ? Was that what that was for too?
Yeah.
Like, they get draft RJ. That's an interesting scenario for sure. Yeah.
See, with KD going somewhere else though, like he's playing with superstars right now. I think wherever he goes, I think that's another partial for his decision or another thing is they got to have somebody else. It just can't be his show, because you can see in so many of these other teams whose show it is. It's the Kawhi Leonard show. It's the James Harden show. I don't think he wants it to be the Kevin Durant show,
Yep.
because I mean, he had Russell Westbrook in OKC, so I don't think even just that person. He wanted to add two more people to his team, and so I think that's going to be a
Exactly.
big deal. Where he goes is based on playing who they get or who his teammates are going to be. And he might just sign a 1 or 2 year contract, see if they build that team. And if they don't, then he's out.
Well, yeah, I think you're. Oh, go ahead, Dakota.
I was just saying it's very interesting because it's very much like what LeBron did, but in a different way. Because LeBron went to Miami and he did what he tried to do, which didn't do it as well, but like wanted to win championships, and then he decided to come back. And KD's, if he wins and he's in, he accomplished what he went there to do, which is to win championships. He'll win 3 straight. He ties LeBron, okay? But the interesting part will be where he chooses to go, because LeBron had Cleveland because that was where he went. This is his home and everything.
Exactly.
So, like, where KD goes to, like, I don't know if it'll have something to do with, like, he wants to build a legacy for that team, or he wants to bring, like, the Knicks back to what they used to be and stuff. Like,
exactly. Imagine him bringing the Knicks back.
Yeah, like the logic
the legacy
of what he wants to
build.
do. Yeah, like it's an interesting aspect of it, which the Knicks seems to market for him. Which obviously they're going to have to. He's going to go there if they have him some other stars with him. But like what LeBron did with Cleveland is he was wanting to go there to be the guy to do something for Cleveland that they haven't had. But that's not necessarily what KD wants to do. But it'd be interesting to choose where he goes because of the fact of the legacy for that team, whether he's trying to build it or bring it back to what it was.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying there. So, to get off the Kevin Durant topic a little bit, let's talk about Steph Curry a little bit, because Steph Curry has shown he's gotten back to MVP form. And honestly, Austin, we hadn't even have him on our radar as far as the top players in the NBA. We didn't even think about it. So, do you guys think now that he's playing the way he is without Kevin Durant, do you think that puts him back in the top 5 player conversation?
In the conversation. It doesn't.
So make your list. Make your list right now,
bro. All right. All right, Dakota, you go ahead and talk about this. I'll make my list.
All right.
In the conversation, I'm making my list too.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, he's definitely in the conversation. I mean, you have the guys like Giannis, KD, Kawhi, and Harden. Like, if he's there, he's cracking the top 5. I mean, I've been so critical of him. Like, you know that. Like, I've always been critical of Steph. But the stat that honestly just – because it's funny because we were talking about the Rockets, like the Game 6, when he was just unclutched beyond belief at the end of that. But then I saw the stat about how he hasn't missed a free throw in the fourth quarter overtime in the playoffs since 2015.
Yes.
Like, that is –
did you hear that, Austin?
That's clutch as it comes, right?
Exactly.
But here's the thing, like – is that one of those dumb stats where it's like, oh, well, he's only shot 2 free throws in each of those, fourth quarter.
Well, no, Curry shoots a lot of free throws.
It kills me with these people who come up with these random stats. But what about, quarter 1 through 3? Where are those stats at? That's what I want to hear. Because he might be horrible with those 1 through 3 quarter stats, and then all of a sudden fourth quarter, which, I mean, fourth quarter, if coming back, that's where it's at, so.
Yeah, I think so I'm making my list here. My list is going to be interesting. I actually have my you want to hear my list?
All right.
So, KD number 1 player in the world is Kevin Durant. Number 2 is Giannis, obviously. Number 3 is Kawhi. Number 4 is a guy who we didn't even see in the playoffs, LeBron James. You still have to put LeBron James in there.
Yeah.
and then nobody wants to see that. And then listen to this, Austin. We have Steph Curry with the shot, number 5, coming at number 5, above Harden. I think number 5. I have Steph Curry at number 5. All right, let me hear your list, Austin.
All right, so I got, KD, Giannis, and then Kawhi and LeBron James. Those are my, top 4. And then that 5th spot, I think the way that, he's playing now, I think that gets it. So I think he is, that number 5 spot. but he needs to keep playing like he's playing.
So you agree with me?
Yeah,
you
I
agree.
agree.
So he's not just in the conversation. He's number 5. He's in it.
Number 5. Number 5. That's
all right,
it,
Dakota. Do you have your list on the go?
Yeah, mine was the exact same, except for it was difficult because I kind of want to put LeBron above Kawhi, just because LeBron's stats this year were insane.
27, 8, and 8.
The dude played
8, and 8.
And his team, like, people just did not care enough about the injuries and everything. But I mean,
no,
the fact that Kawhi's carried the Raptors as far as he has, like, I have to put him at 3. But then LeBron's 4, but I have to put James Harden at 5. Like,
I understand that.
I just play the devil's advocate there that, like, the dude's the reigning MVP. He may win MVP again. And just the way he played, dude, he could put the team on his back. And, like, it's very close. Like, you can almost do a 5A, 5B for him and Steph, but I'd put Harden at 5, and then Steph there at 6 right behind him.
I can see that because, honestly, at this point, James Harden has improved his defense. And, dude, Steph Curry is a horrible defender.
That's all it took was him trying just some.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, honestly, they're probably, like, right there together as far as defense is concerned. So, yeah, it's an interesting list. But I swear, all the disrespect for LeBron – let me just say this. LeBron could skyrocket up this list next season. I also think a guy like Anthony Davis is in the conversation. Paul George is in the conversation. But maybe some – I mean, he's number 3 for MVP this year. So.
And he's in – but just like Giannis, they're both up for defensive player too.
Exactly. So let's talk about MVP right now since we're talking about the top 5 players. So this is our MVP debate. We have – pretty much the debates between Harden and Giannis because Paul George fell off at the end of the year. He'll probably finish number 3. So who do you guys have for MVP this season?
I've got Giannis. I think part of the reason is he's young. He's on this team that goes further in the playoffs, which I know, it's not supposed to count that, but I think that's what people still looking at anyway. Because, I mean, that's what they're hearing in the news and stuff like that. But I think it's Giannis all the way versus anybody else. I think it's him.
It's funny because I just mentioned Harden possibly being repeat, but I have to agree. I think it's Giannis. Mainly just like defining what MVP means. Like I know that Harden, it means a lot to the Rockets, but I still think that they'd be decent without him, but I think Giannis just carries his team to another level. Like what he's doing right now is he's putting the team on his back and he's saying, "Let's go! Like we're going to the finals."
Exactly.
And I'm not taking no for an answer.
Literally.
As an all-around player too, because he's also up for Defensive Player of the Year. Like you have to take that. Should not just be. Stupid.
You have to. You have to take it in consideration. Exactly. It's half the game. Yes, exactly. It's half the game. Yes.
Harden's stats insane, but like Giannis is just a better all-around player, and I think that he's just more essential to his team. Like he's the most valuable player right now in the NBA for sure.
Yeah, and we all agree with this. Listen, it's Giannis. It shouldn't be a question. And Dakota, your point, I love your point about defense. I swear, when we're talking about MVP, man, they never talk about defense. And defense is literally half of the game. And that's why I think defense should always be in consideration. And Giannis is a top 3 defender in the NBA. So it's Giannis this year, no question about it. You're right about James. He's important to his team, but his style of basketball is just not a winning style. It wins in the regular season, but it will never win in the postseason. So let me ask you guys this, because I actually want to talk about this personally because I actually think it's an interesting discussion. Do you think the MVP award should be based on regular season or should it be based on postseason as well? What do y'all think?
Well, I mean, it's kind of hard because, I think it should be based on both, but the thing is, if they do it on the regular season, then they need to award that before the postseason because that's what it's going to help. Because, if you say, like Giannis, I didn't even think about him in the regular season until you get to the postseason. And it's like, holy crap, like, dang, this guy's insane. But, yeah, like you said, Harden, he's doing, so many triple-doubles, 30-plus points each game. But that's it. That's him. It's Team James Harden, not Team Rockets, okay? But then, which makes sense, puts him up there in that MVP conversation. But then you get to the playoffs, and it's just like nothing. And then you hear about these other players dominating. But then if it wasn't like Giannis or Kawhi, if it was somebody else dominating, like, somebody odd, then that'd be weird. Then you wouldn't even think about them as, because you didn't see what they did in regular season, and you didn't, no media didn't talk about them. But I mean, I think that's the number one thing though. If they want to do it just on based on regular season, award it right after regular season. I mean, I think that's the only way they're going to have like an unbiased opinion or option on that, or have 2 MVPs.
All right, Dakota, what do you think?
I completely agree with that. I was gonna like, you have to make it clear cut if it is involving, like, because I don't think they've really ever stated whether or not, like, because like I know in the NFL, like, it's supposed to be the best player in the season award, but they still wait forever to do it. And in the NBA, it's like the same thing. Which in the NBA, the playoffs matter so much more. I feel like towards the MVP race, because like the last few years in the NFL, for example, like, regardless of what happened, like the guy usually made it to the Super Bowl, like with Cam, Matt Ryan, and stuff. But it was like obvious before that they were going to be the MVP winner. And I feel like in the NBA it's very different because like I feel like at the end of the regular season, James Harden probably would have won it. Like Ross was saying, like he probably would have won it. But what Giannis has done in the playoffs makes the difference on that. So like if you are gonna name it as a regular season award, like during the season, you gotta do it before the playoffs because it's impossible to do it without bias. You just can't do it.
Yeah.
You can't watch what Giannis just did and just forget about it like it didn't happen.
Yeah. So here's the thing with the MVP voting. I think, listen, you have the finals MVP and you have the regular season MVP. I understand that. But people look at regular season MVPs and they have more weight to them as far as legacy is concerned, which I don't know if that's necessarily the right thing to do. But in the NFL, it makes more sense because in the NFL, you have way less postseason. So I think in the NFL, it would make sense to cut it off at regular season. But in the NBA, man, the NBA postseason is like a whole nother season. It's like you have a whole nother season. And truthfully, I think it should be taken in consideration a little bit because even though you have the Finals MVP as well, and that's weighted a lot as far as legacy and stuff is concerned, I still think, I mean, even with James Harden's performances in the playoffs, like that should hurt his MVP candidation just a little bit since he didn't perform in the playoffs. And I think the way Giannis performed in the playoffs should help him. I mean, because it's supposed to be the most valuable player award, yet we're awarding it to pretty much useless 82-game season. I mean, like, really, what does that matter? Like, most games on every night don't really matter because it's like, listen, it's just a random night on a Tuesday. I mean, who's going to try on a random night on a Tuesday? Nobody's watching. Y'all watch the NBA in the beginning of the season? No, I don't watch it. Oh. I watch in the postseason. The postseason is what matters most. So I pretty much agree with you guys on that. So with MVP discussion, this discussion's kind of obvious too, but who you guys have rookie of the year? Luka or Trae?
Luka. I like Luka.
What about you, Dakota?
Completely agree. Like, I don't even think it's close. People pretending that it is, it's just not. Like, I didn't expect him to show up and just take over like he did coming from overseas like that. Like, people didn't do that, especially right away. Like, it's taken Giannis a while to get used to the NBA and like American basketball.
Yeah.
See, this is the thing with Luka though. He was being talked about the entire season, and then there at the end, that's when Trae Young started being talked about because then he started playing, he started being good. It would have been better if he was at the beginning and they both, kind of progressed at the same time, and Trae was putting up the numbers he was putting up at the beginning, because me and Austin was talking about like his investment, just the price of his, autographs and stuff increased when he started doing good. Insane, okay? But Lucas has been up there, the entire time, and that kind of told you something if you know anything about things like that. But I think that's, if Trae Young did what he did the second half and the first half, I think it would have been a closer decision. But I like Luka. He'll probably get it. He'll 100% get it.
It's an interesting thing to think about, like with what we were just talking about with MVP, with like thinking about how it's not just stats based. It definitely feels like Rookie of the Year is something that's always been like that. Like it's not so much the eye test or what they've done for their team as a rookie; it's always just what they've done stats wise.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, but either way, like I still think like from that perspective, like Luka's looked better. Like he leads stats wise over Trae in just about everything except for like assists and free throw percentage, but.
Yeah,
and he also played like 9 less games.
It's definitely going to be Luka. There's no question about it. But I think and all right, let me talk. Let me get my reason out here. Because of this, Trae is way more efficient than Luka. Not even a question about it. Luka's shooting 38% from the field. I mean, maybe that might be wrong, because you might have to fact check me on that. But I think it's in the lower 30s, upper 40s in the field. I mean, that's just terrible field goal percentage.
To Basketball Reference, which is what I'm using right now for both their stats, he's shooting 42.7.
42. See, 42 is not bad. I'll say that.
Trae's
42 is not bad. Okay, all right, but Trae shoots well. I don't know actually about that. Listen, Luka is more efficient Trae's more efficient. He'll shoot better throughout his career, in my opinion. And also he's obviously a better distributor. And I think on any given year, Trae would have won Rookie of the Year if Luka wasn't in there, because Luka took over. I mean, if a rookie averages over 20 points a game, he's got to pretty much get the Rookie of the Year, because that's only been done one other time by LeBron James. So Luka definitely looks pretty good. But I think Trae's going to have a great career too. If they can build around Trae in Atlanta, I think he's going to have a great career. I think the Mavericks are definitely a playoff team next year, though, with Luka, with Porzingis coming back. I mean, it's definitely going to be a playoff team. Hopefully they can get one more star and maybe contend for a championship. But yeah, that's what I think about it. Y'all have anything else to say about that one?
No. I'll say that Trae did surprise me. I didn't expect him to be as good as he did, and he did take over. Like both their teams too were just bad, and the only reason either team won games was because of them. They carried them to wins. Yeah. Both of them did that for sure.
Yeah, and they both were surprising this year, man. I mean, both of them looked better than Luka. Was unbelievable with some clutch shots and whatnot, and Trae, same thing. I mean, Trae at the end of the year, man, he was putting up like 30-point triple doubles. I mean, for a rookie. Too. Yeah, 30-point triple doubles is that's just stupid. I mean, people compare him to Steph, but I think I'll say this: he'll never be as good a shooter as Steph. Steph's the greatest shooter ever. But I think Trae will end up being, not as good as Steph, but he'll definitely be in the conversation for a top point guard in the league, just because he's a great passer and a great scorer. All right, so this is interesting. I wanted to talk about this because I think it's ridiculous. So the Lakers won't hire another president of basketball operations. So let me set the scene for you guys, if you guys don't know all of this background. So Magic Johnson steps down as president of basketball operations, reportedly because he wants to fire Rob Pelinka, the GM. He wanted to fire Rob Pelinka, the GM, and Jeannie Buss, the owner, who's a moron, basically told Magic that he can't fire Rob Pelinka, that he has to keep Rob Pelinka on. So Jeannie Buss directly undermines Magic Johnson, who's considered, a basketball savant, one of the greatest point guard to ever live. She undermines Magic Johnson, says you can't fire Rob Pelinka, and now Rob Pelinka has taken over, basically has strong-armed everybody and said, no, I'm running basically all the operations. We're not hiring another president. I'm going to make all the decisions for the Lakers. What do you guys think about that?
I think it's horse crap. Okay, I'm telling you, that's ridiculous. If they want to, keep their Lakers in the trash and keep the whole organization down there, keep doing what you're doing. You're doing a good job at that. I think that's the thing. Like Magic was probably right. Like Magic, he made sense when you start talking about that. But LeBron ain't going to stay there after next year if they keep doing this. They got to have more than players to be a good organization. They can have good players, but they can be dysfunctional. I think that's what they're going after. And if that's what they're going after, A+ to them.
I had to get in on this.
I don't know how running an organization is like a dictatorship works better than having organization to it whatsoever. It doesn't make any sense to just be like, yeah, it's all mine now. And what I think they're definitely doing is you are 110% wasting LeBron. You got this guy, and you're wasting the time you had with him horrifically by doing this.
So true.
You're not it's just sad. It's just sad to watch, honestly. It really is.
Yeah. So yeah, the Lakers are a joke, man. Listen, the Lakers have been a joke since Buss, the owner, died. The father of Jeannie Buss. Once he died, man, they haven't made the playoffs in 6 years, which is rough. And I told Austin this on the last podcast, Dakota. It all started in 2012 after Kobe tore his Achilles. They signed him to a 4-year, $30 million a year deal. It's like if you're a superstar, listen, an aging superstar who's obviously on the decline, tears his Achilles, is not the time to sign him to a $30 million a year deal. That's not the time for that. And that's what they decided to do. And that has put their franchise in a hole. They've traded players like that. Listen to this. Okay, they have Brandon Ingram, Kyle Kuzma, and Lonzo Ball right now. What they could have, Brook Lopez, who just went off the other day, Julius Randle, who's going off in New Orleans. Help me out. D'Angelo Russell, who's going off with the Nets. I mean, you could have those players. Instead, you have Brandon Ingram, who's had this word potential tied to him for 5 years now. I mean, Brandon Ingram has the most potential I've ever heard, because all I hear is potential with Brandon Ingram. I mean, he's a bum. Listen, the Lakers are an absolute joke, and honestly, at first, I see Magic step down, and I'm kind of put off by it. I'm like, Magic's a quitter, whatever. I think he got out at exactly the right time. Magic Johnson is the only reason LeBron James is a Laker right now. Obviously, he wants to come to Hollywood and all that, but I think if Magic Johnson wasn't there, LeBron wouldn't be a Laker. And Dakota, let me tell you about this. The Lakers fans. I can't stand Lakers fans. Me and Austin talked about this last podcast. They complain and they say all these things about LeBron James, saying, "Oh, I never wanted LeBron. I wish LeBron didn't come here." Imagine the Lakers without LeBron James. Imagine the Lakers without LeBron.
We saw it. They were literally terrible.
They'd be fighting for Zion.
They would be Cleveland right now. That's what he does. Like, my God.
Well, that's the thing. Well, it kills me too, because it's like, okay, if LeBron James isn't a Laker right now, who's the best Laker? Who's the best? Kyle Kuzma? Brandon Ingram? I mean, give me a break. The Lakers fans are ridiculous. Lakers fans, if you're watching, you shut up and be thankful that LeBron came to your franchise, because you're the only reason that you're going to be contender is LeBron James. It's the only reason, and they got lucky that he wanted to come to Hollywood. LeBron should have went to the Clippers and did Hollywood from LA in that standpoint, because the Lakers are a complete joke of a franchise. And yeah, they need to hire a president of basketball operations. Rob Pelinka is an inexperienced GM who was an agent for Kobe Bryant. That's the only reason Jeannie Buss will listen to him at all. I mean, that's horse crap, like you said, Austin. I mean, how can you run a franchise like that? It just doesn't make any sense to me. And like Austin says all the time, we could run the Lakers better than the Lakers can run the Lakers.
I believe that. I really do. I feel like Lakers fans weren't even this upset whenever they went out and got Nash and freaking Dwight Howard.
Oh, I know.
And they were just horrific. Like, Lakers fans weren't even that then. But LeBron shows up to your horrific top 5 lottery pick team, and you don't make the playoffs because the team was dead for half the season, and you're just gonna bitch the whole time. Like, that's
like I've said, man. Like I've said, the Lakers are not contending for championships. They're contending for lottery balls. That's what they're contending for. They're a joke of an organization, and they need to step up, man. With LeBron, like you said, Dakota, they've wasted LeBron. They've already wasted 1 year of LeBron. Let's see. I mean. Please tell me a free agent that wants to come play for the Lakers right now. Who wants to come play for the Lakers? Kemba Walker? Really? Kemba Walker. Okay. Kemba Walker and LeBron. Let's see how much that pushes the needle. All right. Let's see how much that pushes the needle. We'll see. We'll see.
Not even an even record.
Not even an inch will that push the needle, Austin. They'll still be contending for, whoever Zion Williams is next year, the number 1 pick next year. I don't know who it's going to be, but we'll see. I mean, maybe Zion will, get out of New Orleans and he'll re-enter the draft next year, and the Lakers will draft him number 1 overall. That's honestly a better prediction than the Lakers making the playoffs next year at this point.
I buy it.
All right, so the last thing I want to talk about is just a little comical. Y'all get this. Draymond was asked in a press conference something about defense or whatever, and Draymond wholeheartedly believes that he is the best defender of all time. He's the greatest defensive player of all time. And I have a question for you guys. How is that possible when he's not even the best defender on his own team? He's not even the best defender on the Warriors. He's like the third best defender. I mean, Draymond has to be the least likable player in the NBA, in my opinion.
Dude, yeah, if I was that reporter, I would have laughed in his face and went to the next person and asked him some question. But, I mean, that's just ridiculous. Like, yeah, that's cool. Like, think of yourself like that. But, I mean, like, you got to be in the conversation to actually mention that.
I mean, he's not even first team All NBA, is he? I mean, I could be wrong about that.
I don't know. I'll tell you, he's not up for Defensive Player of the Year. He's not even the best defender. Like, you're saying all time. And currently in the NBA, like, you're not even in the conversation for it. Like,
Clay, I mean, as far as pound for pound, position for position, Klay Thompson's a better defender. Andre Iguodala is a better defender.
He won them the game. Like,
I've seen Draymond get dunked on multiple times. I mean, multiple times. I mean, like every game he's getting dunked on. So Draymond, seriously, he's the least likable player in the NBA.
I think what he meant was that he likes to argue and say that he didn't cause the foul and they touched him. I think that's what he meant.
I can't stand that when he says that. I can't stand when he does that to the refs, dude. I mean, he'll complain after every call. I mean, he can literally pick up the basketball, walk without dribbling for 50 feet, and he's going to complain about the walking call, the travel call. I mean, that's how he is. So, I just think that's comical. Draymond's a funny guy. That's all he is. He's a funny guy. I hope he doesn't go back to the Warriors. I hope he signs with some franchise, like bottom Peter franchise, gets a max deal and gets exposed horribly as a horrible basketball player. It's gonna be so funny when that happens. All right, so that's it for NBA, guys. You guys have anything else before we sign off?
I think that's it, man.
All right, cool. Well, we're going to come at you guys with also another podcast today, NFL podcast. We're about to record that right after this if Austin's up for it. The Austin Show, we're out.
All right.